Hey everybody, Keegan here, and today we're going to be talking about a caravan down under, plus taking questions on the clone Keegan. Okay, everybody, so I just want to get started today and just dive right in. There's all kinds of stuff going on in the news, and we're dealing with what they call an October surprise. So, for years and years and years, one of the things that happens right before the elections is you have what's called an October surprise, where people from one side of a political party throw mud at the people on the other side of a political party, and it's done right back. And they seem to have all of this kind of dirt on each other right before the elections. So, one of the things that's been considered an October surprise is this. Do you see all those people? Now, a lot of those people come from a place called Honduras in South America, and they have been marching and marching and marching, and they're coming right up to the United States. And they've been knocking walls down to be able to get into countries all the way up through South America and into Mexico. They get to Mexico, and the Mexican government's like, dude, you guys can stay here. Do you guys want to get jobs and live here? And they're like, no, no, no. We want to go for America. Now, here's the thing. I had somebody ask me the other day, they said, who are the bad guys in this? Is it the Americans or is it the people that are coming up here? Neither one. Some of the people mixed up with this group, right, might be bad people, but some of them are families and little kids and stuff. And so here's the thing, right? You're not bad if you want to get someplace that's better for your family, right? But what is bad is breaking the law. So, for instance, I might have the right to go shop at Walmart, but I can't go in there after they're closed and break the door down and go take some goodies, right? And that, in a sense, is what's happening now. But you got to realize what nobody seems to be asking is why these people want to come here. And one of the reasons why is anytime you have a black market, the criminals take over the black market. So what's happened is in the United States, we have a war on drugs, which means that drugs are illegal. So criminals take over the black market and the distribution of those drugs. So in this case, the cartels in Mexico and South America, they run the drug market. And they've made it so terrible for the people to live in these areas that the people want out. These guys are like killing people, hanging bodies over freeway overpasses and stuff. And the people don't want to live there anymore. And who can blame them? If the United States didn't have a war on drugs and we regulated drugs, these people wouldn't have as much power. But what does America want to do? America wants to build a big wall to keep these people out. So I don't think we would even need a wall if we ended the war on drugs. And you could get into the war on terrorism, the war on drugs. How do you fight a war on terrorism? How do you fight a war on drugs? You can't. It's going to be an endless war that goes on forever and ever. So instead of looking at the root of the problem, America always tries to like solve the problem, making it like, when every problem you have, when you only have a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail. So instead of dealing with the war on drugs and all these people that are displaced and not, they have nowhere to live and stuff now, we want to put up a wall to keep them out. But this huge group of people, this is going to justify the wall. So, I mean, if you're asking like, well, which side of the October surprise is this going to help? I don't know. But us in the conspiracy world know that this didn't happen by coincidence. And what I mean by that is if you look at a gentleman named George Soros, okay, George Soros is a Wall Street pioneer. He's a big bank guy. He's a big trade guy. He made his money off real estate. And what happened is during World War II, they were rounding up the Jews. George Soros and his family were a prominent Jewish family. They actually helped the Nazis seek out rich Jewish families, and they would seize their property from them. And George Soros said, yeah, I had to do what I had to do. George Soros has made comments before about how he loves to go in and destabilize an area so he can basically carpetbag and make money off of the spoils of war. And if you don't know what carpetbagging is, that's when like a war would happen and people would come in afterwards and they'd have these big carpets and they'd go into houses and take all the silverware and all the stuff, all the valuables, and they'd put them in a carpet and they'd roll the carpet up. That's carpetbagging. So anyhow, George Soros loves it when an area is destabilized. So one of the things we accuse George Soros of doing all the time is destabilizing the United States. George Soros destabilizes the United States by funding two different political parties that are at war with each other. He gives them money and gives them money. George Soros funded the Occupy Wall Street movement. He also funded the Black Lives Matter movement. And again, these organizations and these little political groups, they start as an organic group, but then they get funded and funded and funded, and then they get taken over. Okay, so Black Lives Matter, totally noble cause, rock on, guys. But that group has been co-opted by George Soros. So basically, one of the things that's happening right now with this Honduran caravan is it's being funded by groups like Cara. And you might be like, what's that? Well, there's this dude from Texas named Alex Mimsing, and he's the leader of Cara, which is an organization that provides services to illegal immigrants. Cara is co-funded by the Catholic Legal Immigration Network and by the American Immigration Council. And so these organizations make up Cara, and Cara is funding all these people with clean clothes, tents, backpacks, baby strollers, cash. And one of the things they found out is that George Soros has been donating money, tons of money, millions of dollars, and he's been increasing the funding since 2009 to the Catholic Legal Immigration Network. Now, George Soros is a former Jew that is now a self-defined atheist. So why is he giving money to the Catholic Legal Immigration Network? Because he's all about this. This is going to make Trump look bad. They're going to put troops down at the border that are going to go after these guys. It's similar to the way Israel goes after the Palestinians, because these guys are going to be throwing rocks and we might be shooting bullets. It's not quite the same thing, though, because the Palestinians actually live and are from the area that they are at. Not if you go back a few hundred years, but I won't get into that. So anyhow, this huge thing, I don't know what's going to come of this, but I always say, remember the 5th of November, that because that supposedly is going to be the date that they start arriving here. I've already seen footage of the military setting up razor barbed wire and stuff. So I'm going to send some positive energy and pray that this information, this whole situation ends with as little bloodshed as possible. Hopefully no bloodshed. But this whole thing is scary, and it should be concerning you, dude. And if this isn't an October surprise, I don't know what is. But it looks like George Soros is behind this, and it looks like he's trying to help destabilize not just Mexico and the countries that these people have come through, but also the United States. So I just wish the very best. And you guys need to be reading up on this stuff, because this is going to affect us for generations. So anyhow, on a lighter note, I wanted to actually go to the Clone Keegan, because I've been asking the people at the Clone Keegan what topics they would like for me to cover. So I'm just going to dive on in. I said a lot going on this week. I'll be back with new videos and insights. In the meantime, what should I be covering? So we got 7 comments here. Let's see what some of these people want. Jerry Londo says, sitting here at 3:30 a.m., eating tuna on crackers, thinking how mind-numbingly obvious it is that the media is controlling the narrative of our lives. That's all I got. Well, she says, I'm stupefied. Yeah, and the thing is, it's not that the media necessarily controls the news. It's that the media decides how much energy to put into one little subject. If you've ever heard the phrase, I think it's something like 1 million people die, no one cares, one person dies, and everybody cares. Because the media focuses on just this, like, one celebrity dying, when meanwhile, 300 people get killed in Yemen. So, yeah, so I totally understand. I told her she just took the red pill. Daryl Robbins says, Edgar Casey, Jose Silva, clairvoyance, synchronicity, or personal experiences with telekinesis, magic of the minds, law of attraction, or related topics. Yeah, so there's something to be said for all that. Edgar Casey, if you don't know who he was a clairvoyant back in the 1930s, and he could basically lie down and go into a trance, and you could ask him stuff, and he knew the answer to it. And apparently, I've got a book about Edgar Casey, actually, but let me see, the Rothschilds actually went to Edgar Casey in the 30s or 40s, I believe, and actually asked him the best places to dig for oil. And he would actually tell them, and he was right about that. If you were to ask Edgar Casey something inappropriate or some information you shouldn't know, Edgar Casey, after his prediction, he would throw up all over the place, and he never remembered his own predictions. They actually had to bring in a court stenographer to actually type the things Edgar Casey would say when he was under in his trance. So Edgar Casey's definitely interesting. Ali Shaib says we should cover Limp Bizkit songs. I did it all for the nookie there, brother. Uh, Anyhow, Jerry Londo again says the pipe bombs were propaganda BS, but the ricin sent to the Pentagon tested positive. Rich ricin sent to Cruz was negative. So she's talking about the pipe bombs. So I was talking about October surprise. The pipe bombs, again, so 8 pipe bombs were sent to prominent Democrats, but none of them blew up. None of them were considered like dangerous as far as I know. So it kind of looks like maybe they sent themselves the bombs because the Republicans are doing really well in the midterms right now. But again, I don't know. If you look at the guy who sent the bombs, he pulled up to these places in a van that had these like perfectly cut like Trump stickers and 9/11 inside job stickers and stuff. And so the whole thing's totally weird. But again, it could have been an actual Republican that was mad at the way Donald Trump's being treated, and he wanted to, teach these guys a lesson without hurting anybody. I don't know, but yeah, that whole thing is super weird. So let me see. Jonathan says all the stuff with the caravan and the pipe bombs is the Democrats' leftists attempt to distract us all from the election fraud they are currently engaged in. Possibly. Again, I don't know. But it does kind of look that way. But again, I don't know, man. I wish I had the answers. I used to be a lot better at kind of predicting and explaining this kind of stuff. But in the last year, things are really heating up and accelerating. So I'm not quite sure, what's going on. But it's painfully obvious if you're paying attention. Let me see here. Oh, so Otis McFolskin. I mentioned Bourdain. I've been watching his last episodes, and some of what he says jabs at CNN overall has a very dark vibe. Yeah, when CNN started going down the crapper, they actually replaced one of their top shows with Anthony Bourdain's show. Anthony Bourdain was a famous chef that ended up killing himself. But some people think that was actually an Illuminati hit, and that Bourdain was actually starting to call out CNN. He was calling out top Democrats. But if you look at his girlfriend was in a movie with Marilyn Manson a few years ago, and the movie was about child trafficking and human trafficking, and there was a little boy in the movie, and he basically called out Anthony Bourdain's girlfriend and said that she basically molested him or took advantage of him when he was a minor. And Marilyn Manson was in that movie too. Marilyn Manson, I believe, is connected to Peaches Gadoff's death. And so there's going to be a lot coming out about all that stuff and Pizzagate and stuff. And I might do a whole episode just on the Anthony Bourdain and all the weird suicides that happened last year with Chester Bennington from Lincoln Park, Chris Cornell. It seems like because they all died by hanging themselves. I mean, the whole thing is really, really weird. Anthony Bourdain's friend, the day he died, he actually posted this on Twitter. This is Josh Souza telling me this. And yeah, look at this. So Anthony Bourdain's best friend, when he died, oh crap, did I? 1 second here. Oh, I messed this up. Yeah, Anthony Bourdain, his best friend Eric Rippert posted, come on now, on June 12th, 2018, 7 a.m. Central Park, New York City, mysterious, fascinating, beautiful obelisk, revealing its secrets only to the initiated ones. So the day after Bourdain died or whatever, his buddy posts this weird Illuminati obelisk. And a lot of Illuminati symbolism is also Egyptian symbolism. Yeah, just weird stuff. Just another weird random thing that happened after Anthony Bourdain died, as his friends posted some really hardcore Illuminati symbolism. So what else we got here? You should cover what you believe is important. So that's Jeff Mortensen. The things that I think are important right now are things like taking care of your family and taking care of yourself. If you get so into looking this stuff up and biting your fingernails all the time because you're worried about what the Illuminati's up to, that's how they win, is you're going to slowly destroy yourself being paranoid and crazy. So I say take care of yourself. Get the sleep you need. Start getting exercise. I've been getting on my Bowflex and doing my thing lately because if we're going to stop the Illuminati or at least expose them, we got to be in tip-top shape. So as much time as you're investing into stopping the Illuminati, make sure that you're investing in yourself and taking care of yourself and taking the time to look at the sky and to look at the sunshine when the chemtrails aren't blocking it. People ask me all the time, how's my day going? I say, another beautiful day in the New World Order. And, that's almost a defeatist attitude, but it's just the way I've been, feeling lately. So let's see what else we got here. I got a few more minutes left. Okay, I said, okay, everyone, I have your questions from last week. We're filming today. What questions or topics would you like? My buddy Mac says straight up, is confirmation bias eating the conspiracy community alive like cancer? Yes, so the conspiracy community tends to grasp at straws sometimes when you really don't need to. You don't need to go off the deep end and find all kinds of weird, spooky conspiracy sites to prove that the Bilderberg is real, to prove that Skull and Bones is real, to prove that Bohemian Grove is real, to prove that no planes hit Building 7. So we grasp at straws sometimes. And there's this whole thing with people. If you try to say negative things that Trump's doing, some conspiracy theorists don't want to hear any of it. So you can't be afraid to see the bad stuff about your heroes. And I actually used to do this thing every Friday called Kill Your Idols Friday. And I would take somebody that I idolized and I would point out the faults in them and point out hey, man, this person might not have our best interests at heart. I'm not trying to say that about Trump, but there's some negative stuff about Trump that we got to be able to acknowledge, dude. And, that's all I have to say about that. Mike McLove says, would you want to address Rice pick from PA? Sure, I'll do that right now, actually. My buddy in Port Angeles took a picture, if I can find it here. Yeah, of this group in downtown Port Angeles. So stuff like this is happening all over the world right now where people are just getting together and making political statements out on the street. And, this hits people a lot more than a meme or a post on the internet. Actually getting outside and showing people, hey, man, you have been lied to. So that's my buddy Rye Brown's pick. Let's see here. I only got a couple minutes left. Let's see. One moment. Russell Brand creates media scandal after he calls out Queen by her true family name. Let me guess, Saxon Cobra Barrett or whatever. So a lot of people don't realize that the British family, they're actually German, but during World War II, they didn't want people to know that, so they actually changed their name. So that's kind of interesting. But Russell Brand, he's kind of been a tool used by the elite in the last couple of years. I like Russell Brand. He had that show Brand X on FXX for a while. But I believe he's actually dating a Rothschild. So I take Russell Brand with a grain of salt. I take Joe Rogan with a grain of salt. I take Alex Jones with a grain of salt. But anyhow, that's all I'm going to get into today. I hope that's enough to help cleanse your palate there. I love you guys. Oh, yeah, real quick. I just had to say. I was talking about Bilderberg earlier. Check this out. My buddy just posted me this. Caleb Baker. This is from the Spider-Man cartoon. I don't know if you can read that, but it says Bilderberg Academy in the Spider-Man game. I was just playing the new, this is the Spider-Man cartoon. I was just playing the new Spider-Man video game, though, and there was straight up a mission where you had to spray your webs over the harbor in New York, and your webs looked like chemtrails. And as you sprayed these webs, it was actually filled with vaccines for the fish in New York. And Spider-Man was like, I got to be kind of sneaky as I do this because people might freak out. But eating the fish is going to make them sick, so I got to spray these vaccines. And the whole thing was weird. I was playing the Spider-Man game, and I felt like I just worked for the Illuminati. Straight up. But yeah, they got the Bilderberg Academy in the new cartoon. Freaking weird. But anyhow, I love you guys, and I'm Keegan. And in the meantime, don't roll your eyes at me.